Hello. My audience is on TikTok, so I'm just waiting for them to turn up. Oh, my hair's a mess. Anyway, no one's turning in because of how I look, so I don't care. Okay. Now, get that ready. Oh, hello. I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? And I'm also filming on YouTube. But you know, my audience is on TikTok, so I'll be looking this way. But I've been getting a few more people turning up on YouTube, so I'll have to go and look at those questions too. Hello, and where are you from? I'm in Vancouver, Canada. It's frustrating that there's two Vancouvers. There's one in Washington. Hi, Munich. There's one in Washington also, so I always have to say Vancouver, Canada. I'm sure they're annoyed by us too. It's a shame there's a Vancouver in Canada because we always have to say Vancouver, Washington. Okay, so where are you from? I've got one Munich. Munich. I think I've been there. Orlando. Hi, Orlando. So I'm also filming on YouTube now, so these lives are permanently saved. If you're interested. Michigan. Hi, Michigan. While we're killing time waiting for people to turn up, I'm reading this really interesting book. I'm not a real reader. I used to be, but now with screens, I just can't seem to focus on a book. Ontario. Hi, Ontario. This is called The Bear. I know it's backwards, but it's written by a child in a child's voice. So it's almost like reading something in a different language, the way that she views everything. She's a 5-year-old and they're out camping and her parents are both eaten by bears and her and her little brother have to try and survive. But it's really interesting. But yeah, I have to interpret like the way she looks at everything. She calls everything something different. She has a different perspective on the world. And they're so cute. They're little. They're 5 and 3 and they're all on their own now out in the wilderness. And they just keep falling asleep, having naps, waking up, expecting lunch to be there. And like, they're just so innocent, right? It's quite interesting. Okay. Okay, well, I've got enough people. I think I'll get going now. Oregon. Hi, Oregon. I just want to say Oregon. It's Oregon. So anyway, if you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. I'm a parenting coach. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. You're on it too. That's what makes it work. So you got to give respect to get it, right? Okay, what to do with a child that hits and scratches? It depends on the age. I'm assuming that's a toddler. You just say no. It's consistent corrective action. Say no and remove them from whoever they hit or scratch. And you say no. Then you make sure they can't go at them right away. So it's about it's actions. It's not words. 3, okay, put on the behavior board, no hurting other people. So don't get specific. Don't say slapping, hitting, whatever. So you say no hurting. So that means everything, right? And then if they do, there's a consequence. So if they hurt someone, they have to do something nice for that person. I actually have a course on that if you're interested. It's my mini courses are all on toddlers right now, or young ones. And that one's toddlers. Well, I always say it's under 3 as a toddler, but 1 to 3, biting, hitting, etc. If you're interested in that, those are my little niche courses. Because toddlers can't be on the behavior board. That's why I have toddler courses on there with the most common toddler questions I get. What do you do when you give consequence and they won't do it? Well, that's why there's 2 consequences. There's a positive action one, which if they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation. You take something away. You always want to get them to do something nice when they've done something bad. If they won't do it, then you take something away. That's why there's 2 consequences for the kids. You can always take something away. Some parents will say, well, I can't. They don't care about anything. I have never worked with someone where I couldn't find leverage. Sometimes we have to invent leverage. But yeah, there's always something you can take away. When's that? When did I have anything time sensitive? When's that? Did I say something time sensitive? Like some event going on? No, I don't think I did. Okay. 4-year-old doesn't like to nap, so not consistent, but becomes overtired. Okay. Well, oh, the course. When's that? Oh, the course. I just have niche courses. They're already out there on my website, but I've got a big course coming up. I'm actually doing I'm asking you guys questions and that on what you want from that. Do you want it to be interactive? Do you want group coaching involved in a course? Or do you want to just have a course like my other courses? You just go online and pace yourself. I really want to do group coaching. I'm going to figure this out. I'll always do the little niche courses too, but I want to do group coaching where it's a whole set of like probably 5 weeks, and you turn up whenever you can. They'll be recorded too. The webinar, not webinars, just the Zoom group coaching sessions once a week. But then you'll have training leading up to that. But yeah, the group coaching. Yeah, I really like that. How many people should I have in that? I'm thinking 10 to start out because I've never done group coaching before. I've done a lot of group workshops, but that's different. It's in person. It's different. Anyway, so group coaching. Yeah, I like that idea. So what would you say, 10 people? What do you think? 5? Yeah. You're tying my hands here. I'll tell you why I'm not big on 5. A lot of people don't ask questions. A lot of people are like silent when you do this. Because I know whenever I've run workshops, the bigger number, the better. Because very few people actually put their hands up and ask questions. It's quite interesting. If they think other people are watching. In coaching, they ask a lot of questions, but when other people are around, they tend to get quiet. So it would have to be at least 10. I'm thinking I cap it when I first get increase after it goes successful. Yeah, I think I'll start with 10 though, because I know from experience, people tend to get quiet in a group. And anyway, I got it all figured out how I want to run it. But if you're interested, let me know. Send me an email if you're interested in being the first one. I don't even know how I'm going to price it yet, but it's going to be a full course. And then you get weekly coaching sessions. So group coaching sessions. So let me know by email. It's lisa@bratbusters.com if you're interested, and I'll put you on a short list. I've already got a few people on there, but you never know with schedules and that. And but yeah, and I'm going to be having the coaching sessions will be on a Saturday, probably around noon Vancouver time. They'll probably run, I'm thinking in 90 minutes. I'm thinking 1 hour probably isn't enough. But anyway, I'll say 60 minutes. I'll probably run 90. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Got it all figured out. I know what I want to do, but I want to hear from you. What do you want? Okay. But then I'll learn that as I go along too. So. Okay, 3-year-old started saying the F word, say that's a bad word, and you put it on the behavior board. Say no bad words. When they say a bad word, there's a consequence. That's how you teach them. You know, we wouldn't speed. I mean, we would all speed if there was no consequences, wouldn't we? Well, okay, maybe you wouldn't, but I would. So I know that there's a chance I'm going to get a speeding ticket. That's why I don't speed. And I would never speed that crazy anyway, but certainly if you saw the car I drove, you'd understand. But I like goofy little cars. Anyway, but yeah, we all have to be accountable in life. So you're teaching them how to be accountable. So yeah, sure, you can say the F word if you want, but there's going to be a consequence, okay? They'll learn. I've read this out before. This is from TikTok, and it said, some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. So some people sort. I read that out one time when I first started doing lives, and I thought it was a question. I thought, why are you telling me that TikTok filters questions? It just means someone would have put a swear word in one of their questions. There's always going to be people like that. You get kids on here, right? Okay. I have a 2-year-old, and every time he is told no, he will turn around and say, hi, mommy. 4 and 5. Don't know what you mean by that. Someone said, I'll ask all the questions. Yeah. What I've got it all figured out too. You're going to have your questions in before midnight the night before. So if I get through all the questions that have been sent to me ahead of time, then we'll have time for an open forum. But good way to do that, isn't it? That was my daughter's idea. And I've done enough of these things too. I've seen that. But yeah, rather than just rely on people asking questions during the Zoom session, they have to be in the night before. Okay, then you said that is what he will like almost as he is trying to distract the fact that he was told no. I see. I don't know. I don't know what you mean, but I don't know what's going on there. I haven't quite figured that out. My nephew still bites and has terrible outbursts. He will be 4 in May. He was diagnosed with ADHD. Well, you know, I didn't learn much with my own kids because I got respect when they were tiny and kind of just sailed right through the teen years. But I worked with all those kids. I call them alphabet kids, the kids with all the acronyms after their names, WXYZ, ADHD, ODD, whatever. So, but yeah, I learned all that. This stuff works. Just say no biting, no hurting other people, put it on the behavior board. He will eventually calm down once you're consistent. It's consistency. And you said nephew, I can't really, I teach parenting, but that's the way it's dealt with. Remember, I learned all this through those kids who did push, who were more feisty. Those are the kids that taught me all this. Like, I never used the behavior board in parenting, and I never used it with any other kid. It's just a teaching tool. It teaches you how to give respect to get it. It sort of shows you the way. It sort of show you kind of get the idea. You got to give respect before you can get it. You give first, then you get. That behavior board, I haven't changed it in 16 years. And my 3-year-old screams and says no every time I tell him no. How do I get that to stop? You don't. You don't change attitude. They will eventually change. It just means he doesn't respect you. So you just got to keep being consistent, work on that behavior board. It's all explained in the behavior board course. You do 3 of them, 1 per week, and they're all going at the same time by the 3rd week. You don't do any more than that. It's just too much, right? It's just a teaching tool to teach you how to discipline. Then you go off the board and do in the moment disciplining. That's how that works. With coaching, I do usually use the behavior board with almost all my clients. We still use the behavior board. Setting up the behavior board is easy. Making it work is the hard part. That's what coaching is all about. But yeah, you can try that on your own. Set it up and try and make it work. It's all there. It's just your own. What happens is it's all personality stuff that comes into it. That's what I have to coach around. But yeah, it's just, if you just treat it like it's just a business transaction, it'll work. But it's all the emotions that come in around it. And what do I do about that? Sure, the behavior board's working, but what about all the other behaviors? And I say, don't worry about it. You're only focusing on 1 behavior per week. That's it. Because you're learning 1 step at a time. If I went in, I deal with everything in the first day, but I'm level 10 with what I teach. You're learning how to do this stuff. You give respect to get it. What is the behavior board, please? That's free on my website, bratbusters.com, and it's on the home page. It's a full course and it's free, but it's on the home page. My other courses are not free and they're in the courses page, but the behavior board is free and it always will be free. Because most people are not going to hire me. I've got 500,000 followers here on TikTok. 500,000 people are not going to hire me for coaching. So that's what these lives are for, and the free behavior board, because I want to be able to help everybody. So that's why I've got so much free stuff. Yeah, the reason why that behavior board's different, I've never seen this before. If anyone else does this, they're either copying me or they've just happened to have come upon it themselves. But I invented this 16 years ago, and you're on it too. You have to be. You have to be accountable. How on earth do you expect your kids to be accountable if you're not? You show them how it's done. They're watching you. They're not listening to you very much. They're watching you. So if you show them that when you make a mistake, there's a consequence for you, they're more likely to accept their own consequences. Toddler about to turn 3. Well, toddlers under the age, my behavior board starts at the age of 3. Under that, it's all consistent corrective actions, and it's repetition, repetition, repetition. So every time they hit, let's say they hit someone with a toy, you say no, 1 word, say no, take the toy away, put it somewhere they can see it, and leave it there all day. And they'll eventually learn. But it's consistent. It's repetition, repetition. And you just pick 1 rule per week or per weekend with a toddler. You just say, we're going to stop this hitting over the weekend. It might take a week. And you just focus on that 1 behavior, because you can't be strong with everything. You just have to be strong with 1 thing. It's like the example I use, and I'm not thrilled with it, but I think it's a decent one. But every parent wants to solve everything. Well, they say, what about all the other behaviors? And I say, okay, look at it this way. If you were to take flying lessons and you get in the cockpit with a flying instructor, and he's just going to teach you 3 dials, that's all you're going to go through. And then you say to him at the end of that, but I want to fly today. You can't. You've got to learn 1 step at a time, 1 dial at a time, 1 behavior at a time. That's how you learn. But like I said, I do everything in the first day, but if you're learning how to do this, you learn 1 step at a time. Oh, thank you. That's for your nephew. We're very involved in his life. Our son is the same age. Okay. 28-month-old, still babbling, not talking. If you're really concerned, that would be a medical issue. But I'll tell you a story. I knew someone, actually it was my cousin. I always say I knew someone. It was my cousin. She was very laid back, and she still is. She would be like, well, I'm 62. She's older than me, so I don't say how old she is. I don't know how old she is. Anyway, but this is the story. She was older, so I didn't see it, but this is the story they always told me. They said that she didn't walk or talk till she was 3, and she had a younger brother who was like 2 years younger. And she just point to something and grunt, and he'd get it for her. So then she did start walking, and she just got up and walked and started talking like a 3-year-old. So she was just very calm, and she always was very easygoing, very calm person. So she was in no rush to get up and and walk or talk. So it's not unheard of that they're not saying much at that age. I'm not saying, I'm not a doctor. I don't know if there's anything wrong with your child, but it's very common for them not to talk at that age. So I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't, but if you're worried, you take them to someone who knows. I don't know. I'm not big on these. What are they called? Milestones. I'm not big on those. I think they're just there to make parents feel bad. Oh my God, he's 6 months old and he's not doing this or that. Generally, it's a gray area. And also, that's probably your first, I'm assuming. Most people are quite thrilled when they have subsequent children walking or talking late, especially walking. So no rush, just stay crawling slow, because they're all feet, no brains when they're toddlers, eh? You know why they fall over so much? Their head is huge. It's like a pumpkin sitting on these little wee bodies. They've got this, they're top heavy, so they're trying to run and then they fall because they got this big pumpkin on their shoulders. Yeah, they're just so out of proportion. It was a cute little TikTok video I saw, and it was this mom showing, like when she raises her arms, they're like this, and she raised her baby's arms, and they only went up to there. Their head is so huge and their little body's so tiny. But it was a huge difference. It was really cute. Oh, I'm just going to mention this book again. I have nothing to do with it. I just thought this was really interesting. I'm reading this book called The Bear, and it's about this 5 and 3-year-old who go camping way out in the wilderness on a lake with their parents. In the middle of the night, the parents are eaten by bears, and this 5 and 3-year-old have to try and survive on their own. But what's interesting, and it's told through the 5-year-old's mouth, like it's her story, but the way she interprets everything it's almost like reading a different language. It's like, what the heck is she talking about? But it's the way she interprets things because she's just little. But it's quite interesting, if that appeals to you. I'm not a big reader, but anyway, it's an interesting book. I'm really enjoying it. Bu- 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 Well, your son is repeating, swearing that he's learning in school. I don't know how old he is, so I can't comment on that. Like, basically, I say no bad words, and you say consequences don't work. Well, the ones you're doing aren't working. Maybe you haven't got maybe you're not consistent. Maybe it's not an effective consequence. Maybe you haven't got a backup consequence, and maybe you're a yeller. If you're a yeller, nothing's going to work. Yelling kind of erases all the good stuff. It's just the way it is. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there. That might be a coaching issue. You might want to hire me for that. Oh, that's on bratbusters.com if you're interested. Okay. Oh, and I was just saying too, I'm just getting ready. I'm going to launch my course soon. It's kind of a big one. It'll be, I think, 5 weeks. I might drag it out to 6, but it's going to be at least 5 weeks. And it'll be all inclusive. It'll be from like 3 to 12-year-olds, parents of 3 to 12-year-olds. And because we're going to be using the behavior board, you don't start that under the age of 3. So I'm just sort of asking you what you're interested. I'm just collecting names right now to see who's interested. And then I'm going to ask you questions on how you want it to run. And you're kind of going to be building it with me. So we're going to work on that together, and there'll be so it'll be a course, but there will be weekly group coaching. So that's how I'm going to work that. So anyway, if you're interested, just send me an email, bratbusters.com. I've already got some emails here. And I think I'm going to start with 10 people. I think that's probably fine, 10 people, because a lot of the questions are the same questions. So what you're I think it'll be kind of neat. We'll all be on Zoom together, and a lot of your questions that you have will be the same as someone else. So you'll see how other people are going through the same thing you are, which I think is fantastic. How much? I don't know yet. Well, look at it this way. My coaching 5 sessions is $600. So it'll be probably around there because it's a whole extra course, or a little bit less than that, maybe. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, group coaching would be cheaper than one-on-one. Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit cheaper. Like I said, it might be 500. I'm not sure yet, but one-on-one coaching is 600. The thing is, you see, I'm going to eventually get rid of coaching. So I'll probably only do crisis work because not many other people specialize in teen crisis or crisis work, children who are abused in every way possible and all that kind of horrible stuff. So I always feel kind of obliged to continue with that because it's such a niche. And not many people do that. So, but yeah, I'm going to get rid of coaching. So I'm kind of replacing it with this course. That's the idea behind it. So you see where I'm going with that. And it's a lot of work to run a course like that with all those people. So yeah, it won't be much less because I was going to increase, what I was going to do was double my one-on-one price wise. And you see, I've kind of got it all figured out because there's only one of me, and I can't train anyone else how to coach because it's such a specialty. So, but I'm just kind of running out of time with coaching. Like I can't do it all, right? So that's the whole idea. I'm planning on replacing one-on-one. Do you discipline a 2-year-old? Yes, you do, but it's very different. It's consistent corrective actions. It's not words. None of these therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions. That's for you. That is not for them. They are about consistent corrective actions, and it's repetition, repetition, repetition. And it's one word, no, and then you take a toy away or whatever. They will eventually learn, but they won't learn the first time. They might learn the 10th or the 100th time. So that's why you just pick one bad behavior per week that you want to deal with a toddler. Say, we're going to stop this kid from hitting over the weekend. Might take 2 days, might take a week. I would love to learn from you and coach this. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll tell you something. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I could ever take someone on under my wing. The reason is I've been doing this for 51 years. Like I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. I'm 62 now. So there's just such a lot of experience that goes behind this. It's extremely rare that I come across something I haven't heard before. And plus I've worked with so many hundreds of kids with all sorts of challenges. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to have a lot of years under your belt with kids, with hundreds of kids before I would. Yeah, it's tricky. Plus, a lot of my clients know each other because they refer each other. So might be family members, and they all hire me. And then they compare notes, and they say, "How on earth?" I never tell them the same thing. Each coaching session, because each personality is so completely different, every coaching session is completely different. So they say we compare notes and they're all completely different. They get the same results, but so it's also different. That's why it's very hard to teach someone how to teach this, because it's so individual and it's just based on decades of experience. I'm not bragging at all. It's just I've put in a lot of work with this, right? So, but yeah, it's a tricky thing. I would not be teaching this if I didn't feel like I had this real strength behind me with experience. And knowing something is one thing, but knowing how to teach it is another too. And yeah, I don't know. It's a tough job, If you want to do it, you have to be tons and tons of experience, and maybe just pick a niche, something like potty training or something niche like. But even then, when I'm teaching potty training, so much else comes up. It's unbelievable. So yeah, it's a big responsibility because these are these people's children. So I'm always aware of, we're building these kids from scratch, right? So if I make a mistake in coaching, that could really affect that family because they put so much trust in me. Anyway, I take this stuff. I love what I do. I take it very seriously. But it's a tough job. Like it's very, when I'm doing crisis work, I sometimes lose sleep over this stuff. I worry about what's going on. So yeah, it's a tough job, but I love it. Okay. Daughter's almost 3 and tantrums in public. Yeah, you're not a different parent because you're out. You're the same parent. So if you can't ignore her where you are, like in a restaurant, drag her out to the car or into the parking lot and ignore her there. You've got to ignore that. Got to ignore tantrums. Autistic, I don't deal with autism, the spectrum disorder, because on here it's only coaching because it's a specialty. I don't deal with that. Like I don't deal with crisis work on TikTok. I don't really talk a lot about teenagers on here either. It's just more complicated. And autism I don't talk about on here, or any developmental delays or anything where it's more specific and more challenging sort of. That's coaching. If you want to hire me, you can. But yeah, I can't generalize with autism. They're all so completely different. Okay. My daughter is 3 and she talks back and has a very bad attitude. That's just a tell. It means she doesn't respect you. So you just have to work on your leadership skills, okay? Because when they respect you, they don't do that. So you got to work on your leadership skills. And that's all I teach. Start with my behavior board. It's free on my website, bratbusters.com. And it'll teach you how to give respect to get it because you're on there too. But that's where you start. It just is a tell. Just means they don't talk back when they respect you. Like if my kids had talked back to me, I would have gone, what? They just don't. When you're a good leader, they just don't disrespect you. It's just the way it is. So yeah, and that's good because you can only improve yourself or change yourself, right? You can't change other people. So that's good news. They are watching you. They need, crave, and want a leader. And if you're not a leader, they're going to look elsewhere for it. I ignore, but it's embarrassing. People stare at us. Got a story for you. This is my mall story. My regulars will know this one very well. My son was about 3, and it was his second to last tantrum that I remember. Maybe I blocked the other ones out. But anyway, he had tantrums. My daughter never had one. So they're just born with them. And anyway, we're in the mall, and I don't know why he did this. He just had a tantrum. We hadn't even been talking or anything. We're just, while I was holding his hand, he just threw himself down, had a tantrum. Who knows? So anyway, I said, oh, geez. Okay. So I dragged him off to the side up against the store window, and I just pulled out my nail file and I started filing my nails, and I'm waiting for him, right? That's all I'm doing. So I'm just waiting. That was a very crowded mall, so it was noisy anyway, so he wasn't really that disruptive. Here's the funny part, is walking past where all the young moms would pull over and say, oh, you should give him a hug, talk about his feelings. And I'm like, oh God, keep going, keep going. They're just new. They're new moms, right? They didn't know. So anyway, but the grandmothers and the more experienced moms with older kids kept coming up to me and said, way to go. You know what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so he only had, it wasn't a long tantrum because he knew me by now. He knew that I was never going to give that any attention. So anyway, then he just stands up. And when he was finished, I said, you all done? Okay, let's go. And I never discussed that. I don't give it any weight or any attention at all. And he just grew out of them. He just stopped having them. There was no payoff for having a tantrum with me. And at past the age of 3 to 4, somewhere in there, they only do what works. They learn to only do what works. If a tantrum had ever worked with him, he would have kept having them. So, but they never, ever, ever worked with me. To where we can't carry on the convo anymore. Okay. When we were trying to have a conversation, a 3-year-old tells us to stop talking right now. Okay, that's just disrespectful. You say don't interrupt, and every time they interrupt, there's a consequence. That's it. So say, no, you don't interrupt. Here's the consequence. Put that on the behavior board, no interrupting. But that only works if you're meeting their needs. If you're meeting their needs and they get lots of attention and you know that they do, then that's fine. But if they're a neglected child, and that's the only time they can ever get attention, then that's not a fair expectation. But most kids aren't, right? So yeah, if you're meeting their needs, you're just managing their wants. Their wants are, it's all about me all the time, and I just want to be the center of attention constantly. They can learn that that's not polite, okay? So yeah, just put it on the behavior board, say no interrupting, and deal with it. Make that work. I'll tell you a funny story. My daughter had just been potty trained, so she would have been about 2.5. And anyway, I was on the phone, and my kids knew if mom's talking, like, because I was a stay-at-home mom and they were spoiled with my attention. I was all over, like I love mothering. So I had no insecurities about talking to someone else. No way would they interrupt me. And so she was 2.5 and she knew not to interrupt me because I was on the phone. Well, the phone call went late. She had just been potty trained. And I have a whole course on potty training, but I always put her on the potty every hour or so just to make sure she was okay. Well, I'd gone long on this phone call and I heard the two of them in the bathroom, and my son was 5 years older and he was a great big brother, but I heard the two of them and in the bathroom. So I didn't think anything of it because he was there and he was a really super responsible kid. And I thought, oh, he's just helping her do something. She ended up peeing all over the place because he said, so they didn't even tell me. When I got off the phone, he came out and said, and she was all upset. She'd peed all over the place because they knew not to interrupt me. Because I always say, unless there's a bones jutting out of the skin or an artery spurting blood, do not interrupt mommy. And I said, or if she has to pee, you can interrupt me. He couldn't get her up on the potty and she peed herself. So anyway, we ended up laughing over it. It wasn't her fault. It was my fault. But anyway, that's how much they knew. You just don't interrupt mom. And they knew that. And it's funny because whenever I see moms getting interrupted, and it's the moms who go like this. They go like this. Yes, sweetie. They allow them to interrupt. I know that they think they look like they're being a good mom, but they're training their children to be rude. So they don't see that. Like if you're talking, and they just keep interrupting for no reason at all. Yes, sweetie, mommy's listening. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be trouble. But I never say a word. Never. I've never given unsolicited parenting advice ever. If you're on here, you're soliciting my advice. I've never told a friend how to parent. I won't tell my kids how to parent. None of my business. But I'll tell you, when those kids are on their own with grandma, it's grandma's rules. Tips to help 6-year-old get control of emotions and not get so frustrated over small things. I don't know what's going on there. Like, are they just anxiety ridden, a worrier? Then I would work with that and I just try and lighten things up a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what's going on there. There could be many reasons for that. That's why I can't answer that. I'd need to assess the situation before I could give you a responsible answer. Um, Recap on this, please. What are some of your rules? Okay, if you go into my website is bratbusters.com. On the homepage is my free behavior board. Oh, I got someone on YouTube. My audience is over here on TikTok. That's why you only see this side of my face. Anyway, I have a whole bunch of rules in there. But no, I was going to go on a big spiel about that. Now, I get really flustered whenever someone asks me for consequences, and you know why? I always get flustered. What are some good consequences? It's because I got so many in my head. I can't possibly come up with them. But when I'm coaching, it's easier because I get to know you and, it's easier. But on here, it's my head just about explodes. What are some of your rules? No hitting. Put your shoes by the front door. Unpack your backpack after school. Be ready by the front door to leave by 8:15 in the morning on school mornings. Bedtime, 8 o'clock, lights out, don't get up. Just stuff like that. Chore chart, follow the chore chart. There's a chore chart over here. Those are some really common ones. Mealtime, follow the mealtime routine. No getting up, no screens, no throwing food, so you put anything on there, anything that you want. And your rule, if you yell, it's always no yelling. And your consequence, if they're older kids especially, is you can't talk for 24 hours. You can write stuff down, but you can't talk for 24 hours unless it's look out for that truck. So we have a lot of fun with it. Okay. And I don't want to get too philosophical about this, but oh my God, I love it when psychologists hire me, especially child psychologists, because they want to know all the psychology behind it. And I love talking about it. But this behavior board is really not about teaching children right from wrong. I know that sounds kind of crazy. It's about teaching you how to be a calm leader. It's about teaching you how to be vulnerable and accountable and show respect to your children. They will respect you in turn, and the bad behavior just melts away. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that, because I could go on for hours about that. Oh, the new word that kids use is frick. Oh, you mean like my swear word is flugen. You know what I'm thinking when I say that. Oh, flugen. Yeah, just say no bad words or no imitation bad words. Lay it all out. Be very specific and say, you know what that means. If I think you're trying to replace it with something else, then it'll be a consequence for that. My basic swear word is sugar. That's what I say all the time. This was so embarrassing. It's just because I've been around kids so much, right? Now I can swear like crazy, but I never used to swear ever. It's just since my kids are grown and swearing's so popular, it just kind of flies out sometimes. Makes me feel cool. Anyway, my swear word is sugar. So anyways, I was in the elevator one day and there was this tough looking young couple, like not tough looking, but really hip and all that. And they're a little bit of an edge to them, a bit more like streetwise than I am. I'm more like Mary Poppins compared to them. So I forgot something and I went, oh, sugar. And they both looked at me and started to laugh. And I said, oh, I meant, and I did the real swear word. And they said, yeah, sure you did. How embarrassing. Oh, sugar. Because I'm not that goody two shoes. I just don't tend to swear because I've been around kids so much. What to do, and my daughter's asked to do anything like picking up toys, brushing teeth, and she says, I don't want to. Say, well, that's okay, you don't have to. Let's go to the behavior board. Okay, you didn't brush your teeth, so here's the consequence. So yeah, there's just a consequence for everything. Everything. We all have to learn to be accountable. We don't go through stop signs because we might get a ticket. We don't speed because we might get a ticket. We pay our rent because we'll get kicked out if we don't. We're kind of forced to do everything. We just learn that there's consequences to everything in life. So you want to teach that to your children. The sooner the better. If you don't, they'll be raised into self-entitled snowflakes. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, those are the kids that never learned about being accountable. How can I get my son to stop saying stop talking? Well, I don't know what's going on and how old he is. So I don't know what that. What kind of consequence is reasonable? I have a whole bunch of them laid out on my behavior board, which is free on my website. It's a whole course and it's free. It's in the home page. By the way, I keep talking about this, but I really want to hear from you. If you want to be a part of you're not committed to it if you just email me. If you want to be part of my new course coming up, it will be a parenting course. I think it's going to be running for 5 weeks. I want you to help me build it. Like what we're going to do is we're going to learn together as we're doing it. So I'm going to start with 10 people. And we're going to have weekly group coaching sessions on Zoom. If you can't, they'll be done around noon Vancouver time. They'll run for about an hour minimum, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how many questions you have. And so it'll be from parents of the age of 3 to 12. Now, I would like to run one on teenagers too, but I'm going to start with this other one first because that's the majority of you. But anyway, the reason I really am anxious to get the parents of teenagers together is because they all think they're alone. Parents of teenagers don't tend to complain a lot about what they're going through with their kids because they're so embarrassed because some of the stuff's really big. I want you to see each other. You're not alone. A lot of other parents are going through crap with you, okay? Not with you, but at the same time as you. So there's a real community feeling when you're on those sessions together. Anyway, if you're interested in that, email me, let me know, say I want to know more about this. And then I'll give you the option. The first 10 people who say they want to be a part of it will get the first option to join. If not, then you don't. Then we'll go to the next people. Okay. Plus, I realize I'm not just going to do this on my own. I want you to help me do it. So it's not even going to be written at first. We're just going to start together. And it'll be a lot less money. The first time I go through, it'll be a lot less money. It'll probably end up being $600 because I'm gonna pull myself away from coaching. That's the whole idea. I'm going to do this group coaching course, group coaching package thing. So that's what I'm working on right now. But I think I'm just going to get you to help me do it because I want to know what you want from me. Because anyway, I know when I'm going to go off on a tangent and I try and go stop. Okay. Yeah, I'm a single mom and I feel like I'm trying everything. My mama heart is breaking. Yeah, you're not alone. Lots of people feel like crap about how they're parenting and what's going on with their kids. Just keep watching and you're not alone. You are not alone. And don't look at those Instagram moms, you know, the perfect ones that are nauseating. They're all in those white and beige clothes and their babies. The whole apartment's all white and beige and just perfect and nothing's ever dirty. And, you know, the moms have those cute little beanies on with the pom-pom and the babies are all bundled up. They all look perfect. Do not look at those. Look up parenting fails on TikTok or on Instagram probably too. Look up the funny stuff. I went to a restaurant once and my friend said, "Is that baby poop on your forehead?" I turned up in a restaurant meeting friends with baby poop on my forehead. That's parenting, okay? So it's messy. Don't feel bad about yourself. You're learning. Parenting is the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and yet everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. You're learning. Example of consequence. Well, I'll give you a funny one. Oh, I've got so many of them. Okay. I'll give you a funny one. This one I tell this story a lot because it's one of my favorites because the mom and I were laughing so hard when she was telling me. And she said you can tell it. I just don't tell names, but she's quite happy for me to share this. Anyway, she was teaching her 16-year-old boy how to drive. They were at each other's throats. They really never had gotten along since he was a teenager. And they just had a really volatile relationship. But every night they had to go for a driving lesson. They just about killed each other. I mean, it was just awful. So I said, here's what I want you to do. You put on the behavior board for you, no yelling. Now you're going to say, well, this is about the mom. Yes, it is. This is all about you. Anyway, I'm going to get to this. So her rule was no yelling. When she yelled, her consequence was she could not talk during their next driving lesson because she was a nag. Look out for that. Look out for that. She could only say something like, look out for that train, like if it was life and death. So she wasn't allowed to talk. So anyway, and he knew this. She had yelled. And he says, great, now you can't talk tonight when we go for a driving lesson. So fine, she put some painter's tape on her mouth to remind herself not to talk. She was getting in the car, I think, and she saw herself in the side mirror, started to laugh, and the tape went like that. It was flopping when she was laughing. Well, they both ended up cracking up, and it was the most fun they'd ever had. And it was the start of this beautiful relationship between the two of them. So that was you say, what a good consequences. It's about you too, right? What a great consequence for that family. And she did the tape. I never said to do that. So, but that's what ended up making them crack up and they were just having a blast. So then we did a lot of other work too, but anyway, it was great. That's a really good example of how that behavior board works beautifully with teenagers because it's It's very, it's about bonding with your teenager. With younger children, you get respect by disciplining. With teenagers, you've got to get some respect before you can discipline. So anyway, um, my son is 9 and he's quick to anger when getting corrected and always says, I don't want to talk about it. Okay. If he's quick to anger, it just my gut reaction is going to go here. If he's quick to anger when disciplining, when corrected, you're not doing it right. You're getting his back up. He's just 9. So yeah, you're not doing it right. There's something missing there. And are you accountable when you mess up? That's another thing too. Is it all him? Are you ever corrected when you mess up? Does he get to punish you too? So yeah, there's something wrong there. And he says, I don't want to talk about it. Well, yeah, of course he doesn't want to talk about it. Okay, and what time is it? Oh, I've been on here 40 minutes. I think I can be on here for 5 more minutes. I've got something I have to do. Okay. Your advice is helpful. Excellent. That's why I'm on here. This is all my free stuff. I'm on here about an hour a day. And this is all my free stuff, answering questions. But it's general. If you want more specific stuff, that's coaching. You're going to have to hire me. This is all general parenting advice. And I can only go so deep on these. But still, a lot of parents are getting great results just from these lives. So that's why I keep doing it. If I didn't get all the emails telling me about how much I've helped you on these lives, I wouldn't turn up. Wouldn't bother. Why would I? I'm not doing this for me. I don't get paid for this. I'm doing this for you. So plus it's relaxing. I find this relaxing. I tell him sorry when I yell, and I feel awful about it, but he gets angry. Yeah, but what's the consequence? Like sorry means nothing to me. Like sorry, like, and then you do it again. Sorry, do it again. Sorry. I don't care about the word sorry. Doesn't mean much to me because I've known someone in my life who just would do just about anything. Sorry, and then I'd still be upset. I said I was sorry. Like that one word makes up for everything, and you just keep doing it over and over again. It's just manipulative. Anyway, here's what you do. Apologizing. Now you use the behavior board and there's a consequence. Otherwise, this is how an apology should go. This is a proper, responsible apology. Let's say you're running late, okay, and you turn up late. You say to the person, sorry, it was all my fault. I should have thought ahead about the traffic. Then you say, what can I do to make it up to you? How about I buy how about I buy you a drink or buy you dessert? Okay. And then you make sure it doesn't happen every single time. So you say, sorry, take full accountability, make amends. What can I do to make it up to you? And offer something. And then don't keep doing it. That's a real apology. If the word sorry is so overused, this reminds me of a story. It's a real pet peeve of mine, actually, that word sorry. It's just so overused. Said, oh, sorry. Where's your forgiveness? And then it turns into you're the one all of a sudden. It's like, you're not very forgiving. All right? It's just so messed up. Anyway, one day I was walking my little dog just up here in the alley, and a car had just pulled out. He just pulled onto the road from the alley. And then for some reason, he changed his mind. He wanted to go left instead of right. He put his car in reverse and just his tires almost squealed. He backed up so fast. I had no time to react. He literally just about missed me, and I had to yank my little old dog from the neck collar. Yank her, he yelped. It was awful. It was just that close. And then by the time he backed up, I was standing right there, and their windows were open. And I looked shocked that he realized right away what he'd done. The wife had seen it in her mirror, and I said, like, you just about killed me and my dog. And he goes, sorry. And I said, do you know how close that was? And he goes, I said I was sorry. And I said, you just about killed me, and I'm allowed to vent to you. And he went like this. He went, you're right. He said, vent away. And I did. But it was like in that moment, you could see it in his face, that one little word. I said I was sorry. Sorry. You see, think about that. If you're just always doing the same thing and yelling at your kids all the time and then saying you're sorry, is that enough? I went probably too far with that. You're thinking I'm not that vicious. It was a good opportunity for me to drive that point home. You're going, gee, I'm not like that. Okay, I know. I just went on a bender there. What ways can kids punish parents? Yeah, if you yell, you have to be quiet for 24 hours. You can't talk unless it's a danger, like a safety issue. That's a good one. Or you have to take them somewhere that you hate. You have to play with them. Whipped cream in the face game. It's something that they love and you hate, and they're often asking you to do. You have to do that for 30 minutes. One mom, she said, oh, I know exactly what that is. And I said, what? And she goes, leapfrog. And I said, you mean leapfrog? And she goes, yep. And so if she yelled, she had to play leapfrog with the kids for 30 minutes. So it's in their world. You do something for them. Or with teenagers, it's 24 hours. You can't talk. It's a good one. Kentucky. Hi, Kentucky. What's your advice on toddlers dragging bedtime out? I know I got to get that course finished. I just have there's one more thing I want to put in it, and I've just been too busy. My bedtime battles course. Anyway, they can't drag it out if you're in charge. They're only dragging it out because they're in charge. So I say, like, that's bedtime, stay in bed, good night. And I turn out the light because you've already done the routine. You read to them, that's it. Okay, bedtime every night, same time, you got to be consistent. So 7:30, lights out, good night, love you. So you leave the room. When they get out of bed, you take them back, put them back in bed, and you say, I said it's bedtime, don't get out of bed. The second time they get up, you say, bedtime. Every time after that, no eye contact and no words. You just physically put them back in bed. They will learn. It's usually one night of pure hell. They will learn. I did this one my clients, he was very funny. And he said all he did, and it was an older child. It was like about a 6-year-old, was getting up all throughout the night all the time. It had always been a problem. So he did that. He said it was one night of hell. They went till like 4 or 5 in the morning, and he had decided to drink some wine. Well, he didn't know it was going to go on that long. He got absolutely obliterated. He couldn't even walk, and his wife had to take over. And he says, all I did was get drunk and curse Lisa out. Darn that, Lisa. That's not what he said, but he told me what he said. But he said it was only one night. The kid never got up again. So I always say the worse the storm, the bigger the rainbow. So you got to be willing to go through a storm to get to that rainbow. It's usually just one really bad night. And then the next night they might try it for half an hour, but instead of the 2 hours they did it the night before. Just take charge. You're in charge. Toddlers cannot drag bedtime out. You control it. It's like the other day, someone said, I'm going shopping with a toddler. How do you get them to put stuff back? This isn't alive. And I said, what do you mean? What stuff? They had allowed them to take stuff off the shelves and play with it or hold it. And then they tried to take it off them. I said, what are you doing? Letting them take stuff off shelves? I said, you're just digging your own grave. You enabled that, and you enabled them to do that, and then you're taking it away. I said, that's not even fair. So like shopping with a toddler, I've done a couple videos on that recently. You have the goodie bag, and you do not let them touch anything. If you have to go up against some product to get out of the way, you hold on to their hands. Do not let them control. Don't let them control things. So yeah, I just didn't understand that. Why on earth are you letting them take anything? No freaking way would my kids have touched anything. They just wouldn't. They just learned. You just don't do that. They had the goodie bag and they just knew. There's no way I would let them touch anything. If they had taken something, it would have gone right back right away. Whereas it sounds like you let them go around with it, or even then it's still no way. So it's like, it's not really fair. I used to smoke pot with my teenager. Now I don't want them to. Like, it's like that. You don't allow that in the first place. Okay, I went a little bit far with that one too. I'm going a little bit far with them. Okay, my son was diagnosed with ADHD. How do I get him to stop lying? They're not intertwined. ADHD children are not liars. So it's not like they go together. They're just different. Put down on the behavior board, no lying, and every time they lie, there's a consequence. Okay, so that's how you deal with lies. It has nothing to do with ADHD. My 3-year-old will look at me dead in the face and disregard what I'm asking of him. Any advice? Yeah, just say, if you're asking him to do something, let me think of a good example. Okay, so you finish dinner and you say, oh, don't forget to put your dishes in the sink. Okay, how old is he? 3. Or put your dishes in the counter. He might not be able to reach inside the sink. So say, can you please put your dirty dishes? Don't forget to put your dirty dishes on the sink. Okay, because you've already told him that's a new rule. Dirty dishes go in the sink. So he just ignores you and walks away. So you say, okay, let's go to the behavior board. And you go on the behavior board. If he does that, then he has to do something. He has to help you do the dishes or something. He won't do that either. You say, okay, now there's no TV for the rest of the night, or no screens for the rest of the night. And then you impose that. So if he normally has an iPad, he can watch a show every night, then he doesn't get it that night. He will eventually learn who's in charge. You got to take control. I'm going to tell you the pool story because it's kind of along those lines, and there's so many lessons in the pool story. And I haven't told it for a couple days. I usually tell it every live. There's 2 stories I tell almost every live. The pool story was a really good example of a kid not listening to me. It wasn't my kid because my kids listen, but it was someone else. Anyway, my son, we had a pool in the backyard, and I think my son, it was his 8th birthday, I think. Anyway, so we had 6 kids total, and it was just me. and I was watching the kids. So none of the moms stayed because they realized I don't talk while I'm watching kids. All I do is count heads. So the moms got bored and left. So anyway, I'm counting heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all I'm doing. I'm sitting there counting heads. And I had said to the kids at the very start of the pool party, I said, Whaley is not allowed in the pool because I can't see behind him. So 3 kids could drown behind Whaley and I wouldn't even know it. Sure enough, one of the kids brought Whaley into the big blow up Whaley. I didn't want to let the air out because we didn't have a pump and it was too much to blow it back up. So, but I just left it there. They know, they should know not to do that. So anyway, sure enough, this one kid pulls Whaley into the pool and I said, take Whaley. I didn't say please. I said, Whaley, put him out of the pool. And he said, no. My son instantly went like this. He knows mom knows how to take care of business. He knew a show was coming up. So I was fully clothed in the pool and I had that kid out sitting beside me before he even knew what had happened. And I said, oh, you can sit there for 10 minutes. And while he was sitting there, I just talked to him about sports, about games, about whatever, I was just bonding with him, right? Just chatting. Beep, 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 10 minutes is up. And I say, okay, 10 minutes is up. You can go back in the pool. He kept talking to me. I couldn't get rid of him. So, and I'm still trying to count heads in the pool and talking to this kid. Anyway, finally goes back in the pool. So why did I not, now for the rest of the day, he was bending over backwards trying to please me. He was all over me. Okay. So what was that all about? I'd already laid down the law, no Whaley in the pool. He broke the rule. Now, I didn't say, please put Whaley out. That's begging. I just thought he could have forgotten. So I said, get Whaley out of the pool. And he said, no. Now with that no, why would I say put Whaley out of the pool again? Why? Because I'm a loser. I'm a weak, begging loser if I say it again. I had to take action. So I jumped in the pool, grabbed him, and my son had taken Whaley out while I did that. And I grabbed him and I had him sit beside me. Why did I not say why? I said, you sit there for 10 minutes. Why did I not say why? Why would I not talk about Whaley? Because he already knows. Leaders don't repeat themselves. I'm not explaining myself. I'm a leader. I don't explain myself. He already knows. So he's sitting there for 10 minutes. Why did I not berate him about what he did wrong and tell him not to do it again? Because that's mean. It's just mean. I use that time to bond with him. I'm talking about, I saw you playing soccer the other day. You got a goal, blah, blah, blah. I'm bonding with him. I'm getting respect. I'm building that respect. Okay, because I'm disciplining him. He's sitting there. And then when I said go back in the pool, why did I not say and be good and don't get Whaley in the pool? Because there again, that's berating him. It's mean. He already knows. He knows what's going to happen if that happens. He'd probably be sitting up for 20 minutes next time. Once they understand they're up against a leader, they don't push you. They just don't. Why would they? Because they know that you know what you're doing. So anyway, then the rest of the day, he just bent over backwards trying to please me. And anyway, he was kind of annoying actually. Lisa, can I do this? Oh, jeez. Anyway, so that's why you don't explain yourself and you just take action. You don't repeat yourself. If they ignore you, you take action, which is what I did. He ignored me. He said no to me. And that's why my son went, he knew there was going to be a show. Anyway. I know I'm late to the party, but my kid is 10 and I cannot pick her up and put her in bed. Then just have a consequence. Say, and that's kind of a big one. If they won't stay in bed at 10 years old, I would say that's your choice. You can go to bed at midnight if you want, but there's no media for 24 hours. That's your choice. If you don't go to bed now and stay in bed, there's no media, no screens for 24 hours. It's your choice. What are you going to do? And go silent. What are you going to do? What would she say to that? Or he? You see? Pick her up. Yeah, it's up to them. Or you have something that you can use like that. So yeah, it's up to you. No anger, just it's up to you. Stay up as late as you want. No media for 24 hours though. It's your choice. What are you going to do? And always say it like that. So what are you going to do? No emotions, like a business. What are you going to do? You got to follow through. Like if you say you're in bed by, she's 10, let's say she's in bed by 9. If it's 9:02, it's 24 immediate blackout. If you say something, and I would say that, it can't be 9:01 or 9:02. It has to be 9. Do you understand? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to you talking to her. Do you understand? Okay, so what are you going to do? It's up to you. It's your choice. It's all up to them. You got to teach children that they can empower their own life. I used to say to my kids, if your good life is good, if your bad life ain't so good, I'll make sure of it. That's my job. So, you see? Okay, I got to run. Anyway, I do have a course coming up. I've decided I'm not going to try and do it all ahead of time. I'm going to work on it with you. It's going to be a course that you can read ahead of time. And then every Saturday, we're going to have a Zoom group coaching session. If you can't turn up for that, you can still send your questions in, but the cutoff will be midnight the night before. And that's how I will be answering questions, is the one that you've sent in. And then if there's any time left over after I've answered those questions for your first week of the course, then I can answer the live Zoom questions. So that's how I'm planning on running it. I'm going to cap it because I'm just going to start going with this. This is going to be in place of coaching eventually, one-on-one coaching. This is how I'm going to run it, because I need to like pretty much double my prices, because I haven't changed my prices in years and years and years. So, and I know I have to, just to account for my time. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing. If you're interested in that, you're not committed to it, just say I'm interested and I'll give you first choice. You'll get the first spot if you're interested, then you sign up for that. And that will be running about 5 weeks. So if you can't turn up for one of those Zooms, then it'll be recorded and you'll get that. So anyway, okay, that's what I'm planning on doing. If you're interested, just email me at bratbusters.com. I'll keep talking about this for the next 2 or 3 weeks before I get it running. And I'm not sure how it's going to work out. We're going to figure this out together. So my problem is I keep trying to do a course and it's just so much information in it. Your head would explode. So I'm going to try and just tweak it down to the minimum that you need to actually follow through. Because the more information I give you, the less likely you are to do it. I've learned that through 16 years of coaching. But every time I try and do a big course, I just go overboard and it's just too much because I want to put everything in there, but I know I shouldn't. So anyway, I'm going to get you to help me do it. So I'm just going to start with 10. Anyway, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. You're on it too. That's what makes it work. So I'm going to do one more question. Okay. You said, thank you, we'll be doing this. Is that the 10-year-old bedtime? Give them an illusion of having a choice, but like voting as an adult. Sort of yes and no. Yes and no. You don't always want to give, you always want to look like it's a choice, but it's a choice. You can do this or that. It's not like, do you want to go to bed at 9 or 9:30? You don't give them those kind of choices. You give them the choice of, you go to bed at this or there's a consequence, that kind of choice. With that situation, you do. You see where I'm going with that? It's a choice. You can either do the right thing and no consequence, or do the wrong thing and there is a consequence. That's your choice. So you don't want to give them choices with everything. Okay. Did I already answer one more question? The choice. Oh yeah, I'll do one more. That was just me going on another rant. I've been on a lot of rants today. Anyway, consequence for not going to bed when they're supposed to. Media blackout. Bedtime's a bit of a big deal. Just have media blackout. Say, well, then you can't have any screens the next day. It's your choice. Bedtime, you can get all this, you can get screen time the next day, but so long as you're in bed on time the night before, just say it like that. That's more, you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. So it's not even necessarily a behavior thing that you're dealing with. Just say, sure, you can have screens tomorrow, but so long as you've gone to bed when they're told. You see, there's a million different ways you can do that. But yeah, just make it like, this is what's happening, and make it happen. You know, parents will say to me, yeah, I did that, but then it didn't work because she got upset, or well, I'm like, so you have to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Behind every scene, if you manage it well and you're consistent, behind every scene is a lesson. Without the scenes, there's no lessons. You've got to be willing to go through that. And it's worth it. That's what parents say. Oh, it's hard. It's worth it. Every parent that I've finished working with that's done really well and been consistent, they all say, God, I wish I knew then what I know now. They say it is so worth it. And they're just sailing and it's going great. So it's all worth it. Okay, I got to run. Thanks so much for joining me. Again, my website's bratbusters.com if you want to know more. And I'll be back again tomorrow. Bye now.